Hi, everybody. What's been going on with me lately? What am I up to? What am I having success with? What am I failing at? What's going on in my life? Is it stressful? Is it easy? Is it comfortable? I'm here today with Mike Collins, the sugar-free man, who's helping me coach through getting off of sugar and flour and caffeine, and who's been wonderful in my recovery and in my healing. So thank you so much for being here, Mike, on my YouTube channel, Dr. Cammy Goes Keto.
Always a pleasure, Cammy, always a pleasure.
Yeah, so we were talking for a little bit before we started rolling the tape about just kind of what's been going on with me and how I have been having some progress and some healing. And I'm going to be in 2 days, will be 60 days with no sugar, flour, or caffeine. Very strict, doing really well with that, and just kind of settling in to a new life, like a new normal, and looking at that and really feeling like this is going to be long term for me. And I have an Overeaters Anonymous sponsor that I talk with, and I'm doing that program at the same time that I'm off of all of these things. And it's been really helpful for me. And one of the things that she was talking about the other day about how sometimes you change your abstinence and what it is with time, as things go on. And I wanted your take on that, Mike, because like sometimes I get really overwhelmed when I think about going forever without sugar, flour, or caffeine. But
Right,
then when I wake up in the morning and I look at the day and I pray and I say, God, help me look at what's going on today. It's still a day where there's no sugar, flour, or caffeine in it. But, I'm very, very early in my recovery.
right,
And so I know some people that have been successful with their recovery off of, overeating and binge eating and been able to, with time, introduce, a special celebration here under the right conditions with the right motivation where there's witnesses and things like that, or another celebration there. And I know, like for me right now, I can't do that because I still have so many eating behaviors and things that are not healthy. Like I think about food all the time. When am I going to eat? How am I going to eat? What's it going to be? What time is it? And even
mm,
on my GLP-1, my Zepbound, some of that is still going on. I'm just able to have success and just say, hey, you're eating 3 square meals a day and nothing in between. And
right.
so, yeah, but I mean, do you think that it's possible to be uh, celebrating here and there in the future? Or is your take on it kind of like when you're an addict, it's kind of like alcohol and you just don't go there?
Well, you're asking 2 questions. I think one is the forever question, but more of the celebration question, is probably a subset of that, is the celebrations are just different. They're just different. They just don't include food or food with crappy crappy ingredients, you know what I mean? It's and the one thing that is interesting that you said that I caught is because I don't have it and it goes away with time is that you think about food all the time, when it is, what I'm
Hmm.
gonna eat, what I'm that goes away. It literally goes away. Like it's noon, I'm not hungry. I don't think I'll probably eat till dinner. I don't think and I haven't thought about food once today. And I've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning. So 6 hours, I haven't even the thought of food or any bodily sensation requiring food or thinking about food or preparing food or what am I going to eat has not entered my world in 6 hours. And that's a pretty common day
Hmm.
for me. That's pretty normal. If I'm hungry, then I will eat. My window is traditionally somewhere between 1 or 2 and 6 or 7, right? That's 6 hours that I eat. And a lot of days I don't eat the first hour, the first round, because I'm not hungry. I don't think about it. I eat once a day and I don't even think about it. But the forever question is a larger question that I think was corrected or that's the right word. I don't know if it was extinguished, but it was definitely modified by the one day at a time construct of a 12-step stuff. Right. And there's no way to predict, especially in today's turbulent world, like what's going to happen 30 days from now, let alone 3 years. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the actual, and look, this is coming from a guy who's a futurist, generally like an amateur and in some cases actually works out. Futurist. I love the future projection of things in general. I think it was my escape as a kid, and, I kinda turned it towards business, and I still struggle with one day at a time, but I think it's a potent message to deliver now to just and we were talking about your goals and, this 6 months and that 6 months for this and that's it, which is all well and good, but you still have to I liked your description of, "I woke up and it was a day that didn't include flour and sugar," and it sounds like a
Yeah.
simplistic, shitty, stupid little answer, but you have to give it credence. It's worked for millions of people.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that as time goes on, like as you go 6 months without sugar, flour, and caffeine, which I haven't done. I mean, the most I've done is 92 days.
right,
So that's 3 months. So once I go like 6 months, I think my mindset about it will be very different. Like maybe I'm like, well, why would I do that? Why would I eat that at that celebration? I
right,
don't do that anymore. And my life is going so well without it. And there's a big risk to it, right? Like
right.
when you eat that one thing, I mean, because I have had experience in the past that when I eat that one thing, it opens up the door and then 8 days of binging go by,
Yeah.
you know? So that's one thing that keeps me thinking about how, I don't ever wanna go back to that.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm becoming more and more convinced of daily, you said something like, I don't know exactly, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but, you said something about your mind, what my mindset would be. Why would I do? It's like, well, you said it'll be very different when you do get to somewhere like whatever, 90 days or
6
6 months.
months,
Yeah,
6 to
whatever.
12 months.
But I think, and this is a little bit of a twist on the phrase, is I think your mind will be different, and this is why I
Uh-huh.
believe this. I think that you will have healed more and that instant gratification from that won't be as exciting. It won't, what would be more exciting is to go to the new yoga class or the new bar class or the new this class, and that, or the new meeting or the new, whatever, new convention. There'll be things that are more like that will appeal to your brain, your emotions, your feelings more than, the cake at the celebration. You know what I mean? It just won't
Yeah.
appeal. And as every day passes, that appeal gets lesser and lesser and quieter until it, like me, does not exist at all. Like for decades, I've never thought about anything that has a sweetener in it or, has sugar in it or whatever. And just literally years go by. Like even it's like it doesn't exist. You've healed that brain chemistry where that's not
Uh-huh.
something that you are, thinking about, wanting, desiring. There's no subconscious subtext that that if you eat it, you'll have 20 minutes of soothing from whatever anxiety or stress, whatever. It doesn't exist. It goes away. And I think that's due to brain healing, the brain healing. And then the metabolic psychiatry world is proving this almost unequivocally, where people are getting off depression meds. And I don't want to use the word on your podcast curing, so I won't, but they are putting in remission
Yeah.
things that would bother them, have bothered them, and they felt they needed medication for decades. And they're walking out of it by changing their diet.
Yeah, super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So I really love talking to you because you have you're on solid ground, you've been like decades where you don't eat sugar and flour and, drink the caffeine and
Right.
sober. And, I feel like I feel like you're on good solid ground. And my ground is like so precarious and kind of, shaky, because it's so early in the whole process.
Yeah.
But it's taken me, like almost 3 years to get to this process. Like
Yeah.
in September, it will be 3 years since I started working out with Jeff and going to the gym and working on, myself physically and started the ketogenic diet. And then that's when I shortly, 3 months into the ketogenic lifestyle and diet, I realized I was addicted to sugar because I couldn't get off of those fake keto snacks that,
Yeah.
have all the sugar alcohols in them and everything. And that's when I realized that I had to get sweet out of the system. So I just want people to be aware that sometimes it takes time, you have to be patient. And Boy, have you been patient with me, Mike. Thank you so much because I've been up and I've been down and I've been this and all around. And, you're just there to kind of keep things steady for me. So I really
Well, you have to
appreciate that.
remember that my journey back then, it took 3 years too, okay? I didn't have as much support. I did talk about a little bit in 12 steps, and I did audit a few, food group meetings, but I really wasn't focused on it. I was just trying to do it myself, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think that at whatever I was in my early 30s, I think that I was so addicted to flour, sugar, and caffeine that I needed that back and forth. I'd do the same thing. I'd go 60 days, I'd go 4 days, I'd go 6 days, I'd go 10 days, you know what I mean? And the same thing would happen again over and over. So I'm used to it, I understand it. Some of our other coaches actually have been were in the system for a year or so before they were going to me, back and forth, but it's the back and forth that I
Yeah.
try and short circuit or shorten, it's the back and forth that I don't want people they don't have to do that if they don't want, but depending on your habit and, your whatever, it's not easy. And
Yeah.
giving this respect, giving this issue respect. Here you are, a brilliant, attractive woman with an MD who is a diving champion and a beauty winner, contest winner, who, can do anything in life, anything. And this has been a struggle. If this isn't the quintessential lesson that people would give it, like you can kind of give Robert Downey Jr. some respect because it took him 2 or 3 years that he happened to live it out in public, but back and forth, or the person who's been to 3 treatment centers, it's drinking, it's heroin, it's time in the world to give this drug, this set of legal drugs, that respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they are powerful, and you are a classic example of someone whose brain, whose desire is there, but the overwhelm of the draw is also there.
Yeah. Well, and society does not make it easy to pull off a sugar, flour, and caffeine.
No,
The ultra processed food industry really had me big time captured.
right,
And the other thing too is that it takes, there's eating and then there's eating without sugar, flour, and caffeine. But,
right.
the two shall not mix, but this still is eating is part of both. So you
Yeah,
have to eat. This is the problem. This is where it's so tricky for this drug to be off of that sugar and flour and caffeine as a drug because you have to intertwine it with all this other stuff. And when you go out places, I was somewhere the other day. I was at a potluck on July 4th and I had some baked beans and I shouldn't have put them on my plate and they had sugar in them. And I took a bite of them and they were super sweet. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not eating any more of that. And of course, in retrospect, I'm like, they're baked beans. Of course, they're going to have sugar in them. But I'm like, oh, there's beans. Look, there's bacon in it. Oh, good. There's protein and fat. And, that's part of my eating disorder, just being like, oh, of course, there's going to be some sugar in there, but I'm just not going to tell her that part. But, that stuff, it weasels its way into everything. And if you're not cooking your own food at home, making your own ingredients, you don't know what's in it. So you do have to kind of I feel like you have to wear that disease like a loose garment because, you don't want to spend, for me, at least for right now, I don't want to be the rest of my life without eating out with my son and his girlfriend when we go out to dinner and, those kinds of things where you're going to be eating out and you're not quite sure exactly what you're going to get. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely, losing my second son was by far harder than this. But other than that, I've done some hard things and, this is way up there on the scale of trying
right.
to be successful.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you're doing it, it's, the one trait I think is that stick to itiveness you have, like, you're like, even if slip or whatever, you keep coming back, and that's really the only lesson you have to learn, and I think it's a lesson overall, yes, you're coming to whatever supporter meetings or talking about it, but you're coming back to yourself, you're coming back to the goal, you're coming back to the belief in yourself and the long-term prospects of living a life without it. I think that's super important. And it's almost a lesson that addicts in general have to learn. Like they didn't have that type of resilience or grit or whatever you want to call it because they could check out of whatever the problem was every day, whether it's drugs or food or alcohol, whatever. They could just numb it and not think about it till tomorrow. But tomorrow comes around, you still got the same set of problems. You got the same set of issues and the same set of anxieties, but you don't use this as the solution. You discover and work on other ones, other methods to soothe yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, healthier methods, yeah. So as you as I stay, abstinent for a longer period of time, more stuff comes up in life, right? Like there's difficulties, there's things that happen. And right now I'm dealing with a lot of stress because I have a sister who is only 2 years older than I am. She's 65 years old and she's got severe dementia. And it's a really sad situation. And she's in a facility now. We transitioned her from living on her own to a facility. That was a whole big, interesting journey.
All right.
But now she's being abusive physically to her caretakers there, and she has basically gotten herself kicked out of the facility that she's in. So we're
Mm,
trying to find another facility and adjust her medications. And it's just been very stressful for myself and for my other two sisters, mainly my other sister, because my third sister manages my mom, who's also in a facility with dementia. So if
mm,
that's not enough to scare you, looking at a sibling and a mother with dementia
right.
in these facilities to
Yeah.
stay off the sugar and the oils, the seed oils and all that stuff. But there's been a lot of stress going on. And
You're handling.
I'm handling it. I'm just so delighted. I think the Zepbound is helping me a lot because I'm just handling it and I'm sticking to my food plan and I'm not using food as a way to manage it in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not even thinking about it. Like I'm not even entertaining the idea. Like the voice doesn't go, "Oh, well, you're under stress. You can go eat this, this, and this, and it'll make you feel so good for such a short amount of time."
Right.
Because it is a short amount of time, and then when you follow it through and you're still heavy and you feel like crap and you have inflammation and you're in a coma and you can't sleep well and, you're 5 steps backwards when you had worked so hard to get your 4 steps forward.
Mhm.
You think about the consequences of it and you're just like, "Gosh, this isn't worth it. I need to just, stay my path because slow and steady will win the race." And it's a lifetime thing, right?
Yes.
So I just, wanted to share that, I'm doing well as far as managing the stress.
Yeah, I don't think you recognize how and when we'll go back to the brain healing part, how optimistic you are at 30 and 60 and 90 days, right? It's like maybe it is my job to make you aware of that, that there is noticeable difference in your attitude, your speech, your affect, everything is better. And again, my excitement about metabolic psychiatry and its intersection with addiction recovery and that diet and food have so much to do. I was listening to this great podcast yesterday, another Diary of CEO guy talking about mitochondria and energy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So good because, and he must mention sugar 10 times already, and I still got another hour, half hour to go, 45 minutes to go. And it's like when you are depleted, your mitochondria, your actual being, and he was pretty philosophical, your being is your energy, right? And when your being is reduced that dramatically buy sugar and all these other things, you just, you don't see the optimism. You don't see the positivity in your life, right? You're only and you're more receptive to the negativity and you don't have the energy, the life force, literally. It's weird how you blended a little bit of philosophical with a like almost boring description of the mitochondrial, depletion, right? Which is the energy depletion. And it's all the way from Lustig to everybody we've ever interviewed talks about the mitochondria being depleted by sugar, right? And so it's again, the science is so exciting, so new that if you look at the positivity, and if I can remind you of the positivity that you are at 30 and you are at 60 and you were at 90, I can keep you on track because I can already tell the person that's really in there versus the discussions that we have when you're coming off a binge or a bender, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like a totally different person and just not, just nuanced ways that really are more about the attitude that you're looking at the whole problem with, right? And I think that has to do with like the energy that's flowing because you're removing the energy killer, which is the mitochondrial killer in the ultra processed carbs and sugars and stuff.
Yeah, and it does take time to recover metabolically, like that's why I'm thinking it's going to be so fun to see how I feel 6 months out, as
Yeah,
the holidays are coming and
yeah,
then it gets kind of dark all the time. There's not a lot of sunshine around and I tend to get I don't get seasonal affective disorder, but I always have to be really sure that I'm getting my exercise in during
yeah,
that time, and but it's going to be fun looking at how I think and feel about things. And the other thing that I think would be really interesting is going back and looking at some videos, going back like 8 or 9 months ago
yeah.
and, looking I just haven't had time to do it to look at some of our videos that we've had and see like how different I was.
Yeah, absolutely. You just interested hit an interesting milestone, future projection to have it's 6 months from now, so you'll have 8 months going into the holidays and, an ability to resist where everybody else falls off. You know what I mean? Is you'll have healed up that way. That phrase I use a lot. I don't think people catch it quite. I don't think they really get what I'm saying when I say healed up. I'm mostly yeah, okay, your fatty liver is going down, your weight might be going down, your inflammation might be going down, but I'm really talking about the brain and the emotional life is healing up. The positivity is returning, the energy is returning, you know? It's that part of healing up. I use that phrase a lot, but I never really I should have asked for feedback more, but healing up is the job. Like you would not walk on a broken leg at like, say, it's one of those soft casts, okay? You got a soft cast and doc says 6 weeks and definitely don't put any weight on it for, 3 or 4 weeks. You wouldn't take the thing off at a week and start walking around. You would, you would, you know what I mean? You just wouldn't,
Yeah.
you wouldn't do it. Right. And just now, and people are like, they don't hold out for that entire time where they get to, they're not, they're healed mentally, emotionally. So,
Yeah. I love that. I love your brain healing up. Maybe I can make that the thumbnail for this issue
yeah.
for this YouTube, podcast because it's so important. And the other thing that I think is really important is being patient with it. It's on God's timeline. It's not on mine. I want to be healed. I mean, I weighed in on the scale last week, Saturday, I don't know, 4 days ago. I hadn't lost or gained any weight and I've been eating well. So I was really disappointed that I hadn't even lost a pound. The
Mhm.
time before that, 2 weeks prior, I had lost 2.5, and 2 weeks prior to that, I had lost 5 pounds. So it's
Wow.
probably just a week that, I'm just, like, not losing weight, and I'm under this stress with my sister, and, so I wasn't surprised. But, it's like you have to be patient with, what's happening, and, the healing is takes time. The healing takes time.
Yes, and I think what you're bringing up is super important because society in general, and 95% of people coming for weight loss or type 2 diagnosis, is the healing. And we have to maybe together, we could figure out measurements of how your brain is healing, how much more optimistic, like a chart of optimism or a chart of less anxiety or a chart of better sleep or a chart of, that you're walking through not effortlessly, but you're walking through your sister's issues and your mother's issues and the weight loss issue because everybody's focused on the weight loss. If they don't get the weight loss immediately, then they're saying it's not doesn't work and I'm going back. You know what I mean? Or unconscious. So maybe we can figure out new markers, new landmarks in the progress that are, more mental, more soothing, more whatever, more relaxed,
Uh-huh.
more, that when you're bored, I think we had an event 2 weeks ago where we were bored, that boredom is good and you're able to sustain it for a while. So, yeah, it's
Yeah, and I'm sitting in more boredom. I mean, I'm under stress right now that's not quite as boring.
right.
But, and when you first start realizing, first it starts to happen, and then after a period of time, you realize that it's happening, you're aware of it, right? And
Yeah,
then it's still happening, and you're in that aware for the first time, uncomfortable state. I don't like it. This is new. This is different. But then with time, it becomes more familiar and more comfortable, and then you can deal with, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, I can be with this." And, that all takes time. So you have to just be patient with that,
my
healing up.
first well, it's probably my second sponsor said, "There is a grading time between awareness and willingness." There's a
Uh-huh.
grading time before awareness and willingness, between awareness and willingness. So you're aware, but you're not quite 100%
You're
willing.
not willing.
And
Yeah.
and it's like you just described it, you know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
grading time between awareness and willingness.
And that's
And
kind of like getting it from your head to your heart. You know how
yes,
you'll think, God, logically, I know I shouldn't be eating this, but then in your heart, you want to go and, getting it
right.
from your head to your heart and with all that.
Let's call it what it really is in your limbic brain, you wanna do it, right? It is your heart for sure, your feeling, your emotion, your body, 'cause all of them, you get the little blast all over your body, but really it's the limbic need to solve any worries, fear, anxiety with the sugar, not, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, yeah, I mean, super cool. I mean, this is, we always, like, uncover stuff, you know what I mean? That's why, I think these archived Dr. Cammy Mike things are gonna be, like, so valuable because people are gonna be like, "I don't need to do this." I mean, listen, they're doing it, they're explaining it for me. The person is actually doing it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, hang in there one day at a time. Be patient. Thank you so much, Mike, for everything that you're doing to help me along my way.
Well, thank
And
you for
we'll
keeping coming
see.
back.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of waiting for emotions to wake up a little bit more and to, I mean, I'm doing things like
Careful what
crying.
you pray for on that one, but
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Boy, be careful on that one for sure.
and make sure your tools are in place, your community, your friends, your phone, your
Yeah, my
speed
tool bag
dial.
is
Yeah,
full and it's open. It's
yeah,
full and open and available.
right.
All right, everybody,
It'll
take
come.
care.
Believe me, it will come.
Okay. All right.
Not trying
I'll
to
be
scare you.
wa- I'll be waiting and ready.
Good, good. And I'll be here if you need to call.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Thank you so much.
Take
Take
care.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.